Welcome to our listeners. Thank you for being here for our weekly podcast, the Class Action Weekly Wire. I'm Jennifer Riley, partner at Duane Morris, and joining me today is Associate Derek Franklin. Derek, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Jen. Happy to be part of the podcast.
Today on the podcast, we are going to discuss the recent publication of the inaugural edition of the Duane Morris Telephone Consumer Protection Act, or TCPA, Class Action Review. Listeners can find the ebook publication on our blog, the Duane Morris Class Action Defense blog. Derek, can you tell our listeners a bit about the publication?
Absolutely, Jen. The TCPA has long been a focus of litigation, particularly for class actions. To that end, the class action team at Duane Morris is pleased to present the TCPA Class Action Review 2024. This publication analyzes the key TCPA-related rulings and developments in 2023 and the significant legal decisions and trends impacting this type of class action litigation for 2024. We hope that companies will benefit from this resource in their compliance with these evolving laws and standards.
In 2023, courts across the country issued a mixed bag of results, leading to some major victories for both plaintiffs and defendants. Derek, can you address the frequency with which classes were certified in TCPA actions in 2023?
There were wins on both sides, but the plaintiff's bar came away ahead in terms of getting classes certified. Courts granted motions for class certifications 70% of the time and denied class certification motions 30% of the time in 2023.
Interesting. That is a fairly high certification rate for these types of cases. Another notable legal issue that courts grappled with over the past year in the context of TCPA cases is the threshold for what constitutes a concrete injury for purposes of Article III standing. Derek, were there any notable rulings in 2023 that addressed Article III standing?
Yes, there were, Jen. There were several rulings that discussed these very issues in the TCPA class action review. In Drazen et al. Versus Pinto, for example, the 11th Circuit ultimately concluded that while a single unwanted text message may not be highly offensive to the ordinary reasonable person, it was nonetheless offensive to some degree to a reasonable person. The 11th Circuit ruled that the harm of receiving one text message shared a close relationship with the harm underlying the tort of intrusion upon seclusion, and thus held that receipt of an unwanted text message can result in a concrete injury sufficient to confer Article III standing.
Thanks so much, Derek. I suspect that standing will remain a hot issue in 2024. The review also talks about the top TCPA settlements in 2023. How did plaintiffs do in securing settlements over the past year?
Plaintiffs did very well in securing high-dollar settlements in 2023. The top 10 TCPA class action settlements totaled north of $103.4 million.
Wow. Well, we will continue to track those settlement numbers in 2024, as record-breaking amounts have been a huge trend that we have been following over the past few years in terms of settlement dollars. Derek, thanks so much for being here today, and thank you to the loyal listeners for tuning in. Listeners, please stop by the blog for a free copy of the TCPA Class Action Review ebook.
Thanks for having me, Jen, and thanks to all the listeners.